This video brought to you by, can't read that, can you? This video brought to you by ecoasia.com. Hey team, hope you're well. It's Friday's video. What was I thinking of talking about today? I've been reading the news, the mainstream news this week, the national broadcaster. I'm getting some interesting stories off the national broadcaster. Mind you, they don't last long. Some stories only sit there for a day, then they mysteriously disappear. For example, I read a story this week how some geniuses in Australian business think it's a fantastic idea for Australia to buy back its own gas, its own natural gas. What a fantastic idea that is. What a genius of a person, that we buy back our own resources from other countries. Man, give that guy a medal. And the government thinks that's a great idea too, and so do some of the other main media institutions. It's gotten to the point now that, I hate to say it, but just so many people are in just total ignorance of how we are just being shafted every which way and loose, and how basically I think it's because most people are so oppressed by their $1 million or $2 million mortgage, and they're slaving away 70-80 hours a week, and they've got kids and all these expenses and stresses of life. They're not even paying attention to how we are just being, when I say we, I mean the general Australian population, are just being scammed and ripped off and smoke screened in so many ways. I'll give you an example. Like I'm reading here a story regarding Exxon and how they had this, they were put on caution. They had a big massive tax bill that they had to pay. If you research some of these archives, we are just being smoke and mirrored. You get this big talk of taxing these big polluting corporations, and then if you look at the trail somewhere down the line, you find out that nothing happens to them. This is happening time and time again to these companies. Now, some are worse than others. I think basically a lot of them are just big greedy institutions. Most of them are foreign, but these companies are going to be pulled to task in their own turf, on their own turf. And this is something that the Australian Tax Office is going to have to come to terms with, that they need to get with the vibes. Not only did these, where these companies come from, people don't want them anymore. People don't want them mining their data, stealing their data, ripping them off, not paying any tax. The ATA has to get with the times on these issues. This is going to happen in their own backyards to these big companies. But in particular, I'm talking about these polluting companies. These polluting fossil fuel companies somehow have convinced the government and the tax department that when they make a massive investment, it's as it's called here in this story, I'll put a link to this story, unique circumstances, because they just invested $21 billion. Now, this is all like kindergarten reasoning. Okay, if you invest $21 billion or $1 billion, it doesn't matter. If you invested in an industry that has to have generations in the future come and clean up their mess, it's not really called an investment, it's called a liability. It's very simple. You can't call a liability an investment when other generations down the track have to come and spend billions or maybe even trillions of dollars to clean up their mess. Now, we're being treated like kindergarten children here. We're being patronized by the government, by these media mogul spin-off circus clowns. That's what they are. They're circus clowns. They're telling us that we don't have the intelligence or the means to transition the economy in a clean, sustainable way. And on top of that, we can't make it a fair economy too, because now the ball in the court The rules have just changed so drastically to favour all these big companies. We're no longer getting a fair deal. The rules need to be adjusted to make it fairer for everyone. And the evidence of this is the enormous wealth gap that's happening, the enormous inequality in wealth that's happening around the world now. It's so obvious that these rules no longer are fair anymore, that they need to be readjusted. And whether they like it or not, we're going to readjust it. It's happening. We're going to do it any means we can to readjust these rules to make it a fair, a greener, more sustainable economy. And there's nothing they can do. I suggest that these entities get with the times and move it, because we are gonna want accountability as well. We do want accountability for all the pollution, all the injustices that these conditions are causing. Now they're not gonna just float away into retirement land. I don't know what they're imagining. If this was the 1960s, I would say yes, they will float away into obscurity with their ill-gotten gain and disappear. But this is not going to happen now for these people in this generation. It's not going to happen. No way. We're not going to let them get away with it. And the political realm is changing radically to suit that evidence of fairness. We're changing it. So I suggest that they change it themselves before we get to them, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard for them. Yeah, that's all I basically want to talk about. Just the indiscrepancies with the tax arrangement, letting these big polluting companies call polluting ventures as investments. You know, they really need to go back and redefine the term. They're not investments, they're liabilities. We're going to have to clean up after them. We're going to have to be burdened with that cost. And the other thing was just making a fairer economy, that we do have the means, the intelligence, and we do have the technology and innovation to make a greener economy. We don't want to be patronized anymore, and we're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to tolerate it from the government, from their puppet media, or whoever, their networks of arrogance. We're not going to tolerate it, and we're going to transition the economy. We're going to have a green, fair economy in the sooner or later, and there's nothing they can do about it. So they better get with the program and start adjusting to that. That's all I really want to say. I hope you have a good week, and Eco-Asia, serving mankind and nature's good, and Green2Stay over and out. Make eco fun. Bye.